Welcome, everyone, to today's Franchise Empire newsletter. Happy New Year. I'm excited to do our first newsletter of 2024. It's going to be awesome. And Kevin will be joining us in a little bit. And I'm going to share my screen today in this newsletter. For those of you who have seen it before, you're familiar with the format already. Window. Here we go. But today, in this newsletter, we're going to cover one specific franchise resale. We're going to cover one franchise of the week. We'll cover a client case study of someone who has purchased a franchise. And we'll hit on the latest episode of the Franchise Empire show. So again, welcome. Today's going to be a really exciting one. A couple of the franchises that we'll be talking about, I think, are really interesting. I hadn't really heard of one of them prior to Kevin introducing me to them, and I think it's a really, really fascinating concept. But before we dive into that real quick, I'll just kind of walk you through the message. Hey, Leary, welcome, welcome. Yeah, and so see, he let it off already. Drop me a hello from whatever city or state you're tuning in from. That would be awesome. And for those of you who maybe this is your first time seeing the newsletter, this hits your inbox or could hit your inbox at 8 a.m. Eastern time every Sunday. So if you want to get it, you can go to franchiseempire.com/newsletter and sign up. It's completely free. So the topic of this is how to double your income in 2024. So I do want to share that message with you real quick before we dive into the specific franchise opportunities. But I just finished running an annual planning session for our group of franchise owners in our franchisee mastermind. And what I've figured out just talking to a lot of people that want to be entrepreneurs and a lot of successful entrepreneurs is that most people have a vague idea of what it is they want. And so, like, if you left your house going to drive somewhere, you'd probably think it'd be absolutely ridiculous to drive and be like, "Hey, where are you driving to?" Like, I'm not sure, somewhere kind of around this area. I'd be like, "What do you mean? What, are we just gonna drive around in circles?" And so, same thing with, as an example, to double your income, like that has to be a very clear goal and outcome that you have set out to do. And so the core message here that I want to share with you before we dive into these franchises and before I bring Kevin in is that number one, in order to double your income, it starts with conviction first. Like that has to be a specific goal that you have set to double your income. And then you have the belief that I can make this happen. And so the reason why, here's the mistake most people make is when they go to get an external result, they go about it by changing their behavior first. Right. So you go, okay, I want to double my income. And then so you get an idea and then you start doing stuff based off of that idea. The key thing that has not changed is your belief. So what happens is subconsciously, you don't believe that you can double your income. So what happens? You try something and quit and give up. Like your identity yet has not established itself as someone who makes double the income that you do now. And so what happens is you have to shift your belief first. Like, I believe that I'm the type of person that makes, let's say, $300,000 a year if you're currently making 150. And so once you establish that belief, then you will start to think differently, meaning you'll get different ideas. You'll go about pursuing things in a different way. Once you start to think differently, it causes you to feel different emotions around topics, ideas, things that you're pursuing, right? Where normally you might get overwhelmed and scared and then give up and not follow through. Well, this time, now that you go, no, this is me, this is my identity, I'm someone who makes double income, you may feel those same feelings, but then you're able to shift it and pivot it to a different emotion. And then when you do that, that drives a different behavior, thereby creating a different result. So if you want to double your income this year in 2024, it starts with shifting your belief first. It all starts in the mind first, right? So strategy, actions, and mindset, right? So once you have, okay, your outcome, what's my strategy in order to achieve that outcome? What are the actions I need to take? And then what's the mindset that I need to have? And the mindset's 80% of it. So if you want to read the rest of that, go to franchiseempire.com/resale and then shoot us an email at info@tarekjohnson.com and we'll forward you the one from last week. But you guys didn't come here for me. You came here for Kevin to hear about these exciting franchise opportunities that you might be able to double your income with. So, Kevin, what's up, man?
Hey, Happy New Year.
Happy
You're
New
so
Year.
full of it. I love the intros, though. Thank you.
For sure. Yeah, it's like I love talking about that stuff.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to talk about the two brands today. We can dive right into the resale opportunity, but it's I've talked many times about service-based franchises, the reasons I like them. This one falls into that category. It's Kitchen Tuneup. It's a kitchen remodeling franchise, so it kind of says it in the name, but it's been around since 1975. So super well established. Has run the test of time. They have 258 locations throughout the U.S. and Canada. So what they specialize in is 1 to 5 day kitchen tune-ups or kitchen transformations. They can also do like full-blown remodels, like a traditional, general contractor would, but they offer a project for every budget based on their customers' needs and budget amount. So this particular resale is in Boise, Idaho. I did some research on Boise. I think it's one of the fastest growing markets in the country. So I really wanted to show this one because the asking price seems pretty reasonable. It's 250,000. They had a last 12 months revenue of just around 850,000. So to get into a new kitchen tune-up for some perspective is anywhere between 140 and 175 total investment. So this is kind of one where you can hit the ground running. It's got quite a bit of established revenue. It's in a really growing market. And it's 3 territories. So, in a service-based franchise, you usually can buy 1 territory or more to start, but this is encompasses 3 territories. So it's a pretty market opportunity. What's interesting is the current owner has other kitchen tune-up franchise locations in Idaho as well as Utah. And this one just kind of it's too much. They're focusing on their other areas, so they kind of want to offload it. But yeah, interesting opportunity. Kitchen Tune Up. I've heard really good things. They have a 6 week training program. It's one of the most extensive training programs that I've heard of. It's a combination of online and in person, and then they actually come to you in your market. Really, really tight knit group of franchise owners, from what I understand. They collaborate a lot. They're almost like a big family. That's what they always talk about in their webinars and their marketing materials. So this could be a really good opportunity for people that are interested in home services, that want something that's pretty damn turnkey, and it's in a great market. Let's see. What did I miss? Oh yeah, 70% of their owners are home based. So this is not one where you need a large like showroom or brick and mortar location. You can operate it out of your home and then grow into like a small warehouse. So that keeps your overhead low. But yeah, Tarek, have you heard of Kitchen Tune Up before? Have you ever placed anybody in this franchise?
I think I've heard of it from you guys, and yeah, I think from you guys. And this an HFC brand?
Yes. Yeah, it's part of an umbrella brand. I'm not sure if it's HFC or not, to be honest with you. I probably should know that. But yeah, it's definitely part of an umbrella brand.
Let's see. I'm super curious because I think Bath Tune Up is HFC. So
Yeah, Bath Tuneup is a spinoff. We covered that in a couple newsletters ago, but Bath Tuneup is a spinoff of Kitchen Tuneup. A lot of Kitchen Tuneup owners were asking, them to add that as a potential new vertical. So yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so it is part of HFC. So for those of you guys who, unless you're like a nerd and in the franchise world and you just like know brands and their parent companies, because we didn't even. So if you knew that, like I'm impressed. And why don't you come join us on the newsletters? But so HFC is Home Franchise Concepts, which they own a bunch of different brands. And what's cool is that so Budget Blinds, HFC owns Budget Blinds. They're the parent company of Budget Blinds. So, what I think the cool thing about Home Franchise Concepts overall is that, or even a kitchen tune-up, like let's say you buy this resale, it's like you're getting a franchisor that literally all they do is they own um, concepts that are around the home. Hence, Home Franchise Concepts.
Yeah, I should have probably known that one, but yeah, Kitchen Tuna. I think they were like acquired within the last 3 to 4 years by HFC, and the kitchen tune-up story is really interesting. It's run by a woman named Heidi Morrissey, and she's super legit. She's like the brand president, but I think her family, her parents started it, and then had grown fairly well, but then she took it over, and it really just like skyrocketed. She started implementing a lot of systems and building the culture, and I think it's a pretty cool story. But it's been family owned for since its inception, and now it's owned by HFC.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I dig that. Um, what I think what's interesting too, what I like part of what you were talking about, Kevin, there's a couple different instances that I like in terms of resales, and one is when the owner's retiring. I like that scenario overall. Um, and another one that I like is when the owner has multiple businesses and they just haven't been giving the business they're selling the attention that it deserves, and it's still doing like decent. Like the business is still doing 850 grand a year. Like and for anyone that doesn't own a business or has never owned a business or franchise, to operate a couple of territories is like it takes a good amount of work, especially if it's something that's new. So if this person has multiple across, like a bunch of different territories across the country, like the complexity that takes to operate potentially 8 or 9 territories across different markets is insane. So like something like this, without knowing the specifics of the actual business that's for sale, I think it sounds like an attractive opportunity for someone that's willing to like just focus on the business.
Yeah, in it's 100%, and it's in such a good market that it's making money in spite of itself almost right now. It's like it's really they're not fully maximizing the market opportunity. But yeah, I used to work for a home improvement franchise, and whenever we had owners trying to do like satellite locations in other cities, we really like coached them like you have to be well prepared. It's a whole different animal. Like you're building a whole nother culture. You need another leadership team there. It's very, very hard to do. So you really need to make sure your core business is like sound before you take that leap.
100%. Here's another interesting point before we move on. This just popped in my head, Kevin. There was a point where, and I bet a lot of people are asking themselves this, which is like, well, we might be in a recession or heading into one, and like something that is involving home improvement or high ticket items, is that really the best idea in terms of a business? And I remember thinking about this a couple of months ago, and the perspective that popped into my head, which is, well, think about this. Right now, no one is selling their house, right? Because everyone has a 2, 3, sub 4% interest rate, and no one is selling their house unless they absolutely have to go out and buy like another house for a higher price at a 7% interest rate. So, and the reason why I thought about this perspective is because of what started to shift with the conversations with me and Bridget, which was we went from, okay, let's look to upgrading our house to, okay, we're definitely not upgrading our house and moving away from our 4% mortgage, to now, okay, well, since we're going to be here a few years, like, why don't we do some of the projects that we probably weren't going to do since we were going to move? So I think that's a really interesting distinction where I think the home service and upgrade niches overall, I think will continue to do well because
Yeah,
of that.
100%. Historically, over time, they've done well during like down economic periods, and like even during COVID when people were like unsure of what was going to happen with the economy and all that. Like home services franchises did very well because people were like home. They're talking about projects they didn't want to move. Um, so yeah, I totally agree. And then the other thing about kitchens is like kitchens the most valuable part of the home, arguably. I mean, it probably is. It holds the most value. So a kitchen remodel, it's going to add more value to your home than like doing a basement, finishing your basement or anything else like that. You're not going to get your money back out of something like that.
Or a pool.
Or a
Like, they
pool.
keep
Yeah.
wanting us to get a pool. I'm like, "We're not spending money on a pool." Like,
Yeah.
there's
Well,
one in our community.
yeah. We can walk to somebody else's pool. That's what I always say.
For sure, yeah, our neighbors have pools and, like, yeah, we do play dates all the time, like, we're not hopping in a pool. I'll go jump their backyard real quick when they're not home. So if you guys want to, if you're in the Idaho area and you want to learn more about that resale, you can go to franchiseempire.com/resales. Or if you're just anywhere in the country and you're like, hey, I like the idea of potentially buying a resale franchise, I'd love to know more about what's available in my area, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/resales. And you'll be able to set up a free, quick 15-minute call with Kevin or Carista, and they'll be able to show you what's available in your area. Quick client case study. I put this in. I try to match up a case study / testimonial with the message that was at the beginning of the newsletter. And so, like, Joe was a guy who had doubled his income by buying a resale franchise, actually, and he had similar story to me, which he had multiple failed businesses prior to this franchise acquisition. And this was when I used to do all of our sales calls or enrollments for our flagship program system. And actually, this was when I did all the one-on-one coaching too. So I actually individually worked with Joe. I did everything. This was like a year and a half ago. And I could hear the sense of, I don't want to say desperation, but like this was his last shot. He was like, Tarek, I'm 50 something years old. Like, this is like my last go. Like, if this doesn't work, it's done. It's over for me. And, really, he was saying failure wasn't an option. He had tried to open his own restaurant and that failed. And he had put a lot of money into that. And, I think one of the things that you'll find and sometimes is that Kevin and I and Krista, like, generally we're gonna shoot you straight. As an example, like, I helped protect Joe from himself. He still wanted to be in the restaurant business. So I'm like, you can't afford a loss, right? So instead of going into the restaurant business, which has low profit margins, and yeah, I understand it's your dream, because he was like, it's my dream to own a restaurant. And I was like, that's cool. Let's just get a win. Like, let's just get you out because that's what you want to do, and let's get you a win. And so he went with a business that's in the small business printing space. He bought a Minuteman press. If you've ever heard of Minuteman press, bought a resale and just started crushing it right away. And so he was a testament to shifting his belief at a cellular, deep cellular level, not like a cellular level. So I just thought that was a really cool story. And if you go to the where do we have these? Anyways, if you go to the newsletter, you can click on and watch these testimonials. Oh, you can go to tarekjohnson.com/testimonials if you want to watch any of these case studies. This is one that I'm very interested in talking about, Kevin, because I was not familiar with this. And when I was prepping for this, I actually read this early last week. I started prepping for the wrong one accidentally. So I'd gone through this whole one first, and then I realized, oh, wrong week. And then I started prepping for the other one. But I was really fascinated. So tell us about, what the hell is R&R?
Yeah, exactly. Most people, I would say a vast majority of our listeners are probably never heard of this, but it's the R&R stands for rent and roll. That's what it initially started as, but it's now R&R Tire Express. So it is a tire store franchise in the simplest form. But they started franchising in 2002. They have 155 franchise stores throughout the country now. But they are the largest franchisor of rent to own wheel and tires nationwide. So, really, really unique business model where they say it's like pay as you go. So, you're basically renting the tires or the wheels until you own them. So, there's seller, there's the financing element involved in this. But when you start to really like dive into this business, it's a very profitable business in an industry that like I don't really see it going anywhere anytime soon, right? Like people are constantly having to like change out their tires or their wheels for whatever reason. As long as we're driving cars in the US, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon because our public transportation is not anywhere near the other countries throughout the world. It's, we're going to need shops like this. So, the only, negative to this is the high investment range. It's between 600,000 and 1.5 million because it is brick and mortar. However, you could almost look at it as it's a positive as well because there is a pretty significant barrier to entry to get into this business. Not anybody can just hop into this. So, somebody that's well funded can get into this business. They do allow for semi-passive ownership. So maybe you own businesses now, or maybe you have a high-paying job you want to keep and just hire a general manager to run this type of business. This is something you can definitely do. But yeah, their services include selling tires and wheels, but they also do like alignment, tire rotation, tire repair, maintenance, things like that. What is the Discount Tire is like a national chain you've probably heard of. This would be a competitor to Discount Tire. But yeah, if you go into their financial data, Tarek, on their item 19, you can see, they disclose. I think it looks like they disclose almost all of their stores, which is one pretty unusual for an item 19. Usually the franchises are fairly selective on the amount of stores they're disclosing, but this one disclosed 151 out of the 155 stores. So average total revenues right around 1.7 million with an operating income of around 200,000. They also disclose their operating income. So pretty strong numbers when you look at their top 20%, like crazy good. If you scroll down, it's 2.9 million on average gross revenue for their top 20% of stores with an operating income of 633,000. So high margins on selling wheels apparently, or tires.
Yeah, that's those are some big numbers. Yeah, those are some big numbers. Yeah, I think this is an interesting space. Like, okay, maybe like some of the quick lube places, like okay, the whole transformational electric cars and stuff like that. Yeah, like that's a threat to the quick lube places for sure. But yeah, tires, I mean, like everyone, oh man. So I did not. I had about 8 months ago, I had bought all new four tires um for my car, right? My SUV. And because I went to replace one because it looked like the sidewall was teared a little bit or something like that. And the guy was like, dude, you have it. It's like you have the curb tear on the tires for like on like all the tires. He was like, you got to replace these, man. And I was like, okay. And so I replaced them a couple months later, freaking nailing my tire. And it was like if it's towards the sidewall, they have to replace the tire. They won't patch it because of whatever. So I had to buy a new tire. And I have a Range Rover, so the tire's like $400. It's like $400 tire. Got to replace the tire. Damn it. And then, like, literally a couple months later, another tower got a nail, like a giant thing. It was this, I have a picture of it. It was not even a nail. It was like an alien piece of metal. I don't know what the hell it was, but it was giant. And I had to buy another tire as well. And I thought, man, that'd be really awesome to just own a tire shop. But these guys, I mean, they just crank it out. And about this specific franchise, here's what I like. There are people and brands out there promoting franchises right now, and all they do is show you emerging franchises. And not to say that there's anything wrong with emerging franchises, but like this thing they've been around since 1999. They've been in business for 25 years, franchising for 22 years. So it's like they know what they're doing. And they operate 23 corporate stores. Like these are the sort of opportunities that I get really excited about because I'm risk averse personally. And I'm like, man, I love the fact that there's the history. It just makes me feel a little bit more warm and fuzzy than, if I was pursuing something that only had like one or two franchisees overall. So I think with, someone who has a solid net worth, a great income, and is a little bit more risk averse, like something like this is like pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at like their retention rate here over the last 3 years, they've had zero termination and zero non-renewals, which is kind of unheard of. Like usually you see, even in a really strong franchise system, you see a couple terminations, but their retention rate is crazy good. And then similar to Kitchen Tuneup, like they can service any customer. So like their biggest differentiator is most tire stores require cash or credit once you have the tires installed, but they have this payment plan which makes them a lot different, more different, and they can service any type of customer that comes in their door.
I never even knew that existed when I was when I was reading through this last week. Uh,
Yeah,
um, I was like, "Oh wow, I didn't know." One, I didn't know because we had someone who almost bought an R&R that was in the program
yeah.
that you worked with, and I hadn't heard of them at that time, and I didn't know that it was like a rent to own kind of model, which is fascinating. It makes sense too because a lot of people like, if you gotta get new tires, it's not necessarily like, an expense that you were expecting. Um, so yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Sweet. All right, cool. So, for any of you who wanna see if R&R is available in your area, or if you just wanna see, "Hey, what franchises are available in my area?" Not necessarily resales, just anything, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. And, again, then we can see what's available for you for free. Lastly, the podcast episode this week. This is for anyone of you who are interested in possibly becoming a franchisor. Actually, maybe you have a business that you want to franchise, or maybe you want to buy a business and then franchise it. Then I sat down with Charles Internicola, who's just an attorney that's built a really cool brand. He's worked with some really, really big name franchise concepts out there. So make sure to go and subscribe to the Franchise Empire Show YouTube channel because that's the only place we put the podcast now. Yeah. Anything mind blowing to close with, Kevin? Or what's your consensus on the this year 2024? What's the advice that you would give someone that's maybe looking into franchising overall?
Yeah, I think you just, I mean, what you said at the top, where you kind of just have to like set your mind to it, get your mind right. It's not going to be easy. It's it's going to be a hard process. It's going and even the process to buying a franchise is going to be hard. So like you have to get your mind right before you even step into it, right? And make sure you have a good plan going into it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It kind of put me on the spot there. I don't have any mind blowing thoughts to share with you.
Yeah, but to that point, I know that we worked with folks, and it comes to mind actually Sid and Dara. I
Yeah.
think there was a point where they said it's either now or never. Like either we're doing this now or we're not going to do it. So like let's pursue this, and then you wind up helping them um buy one. I think one of the tune-up brands, right?
Bath tune Yeah, it was bath
Yeah,
tune Yeah.
yeah, yeah. How ironic. So yeah, so it really just is a mindset thing. Like when you're ready, you're ready. When like, hey, this is something I want to pursue. Like the timing's never right. It's always terrifying. It's always scary. None of those things go away, to be quite honest. So
No. No, I think the sooner you can just embrace being uncomfortable and 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 testing yourself. I mean, everybody's got it in them. I truly believe that. I really think there's, a business for most people out there. It's just you've got to like stop the limiting beliefs about yourself and just just take a leap. But like I love. I just had a new call with a new person that joined the community this morning, and it just energizes me because he's like super motivated. Awesome guy. He's already gone through like the first two phases of our modules, and is like, man,
Which one is that?
this was Jeff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just an awesome guy. Like he's ready to go. Like I didn't even have to give him homework. He's already done all the homework that needs to be done. So, those are the type of people that are like, he's going to get after it and find something. We're gonna move quickly, and we're gonna go through the process. And so, yeah, it looks like Leary's got a question here.
Yep. You want to take that?
Yeah, Leary, thanks for the question. Yeah, there are home health space. So there's in-home senior care that is both medical and non-medical. And non-medical is more like caregiving, appointment running, just companion care. Medical, you need to be able to have like nurses on staff to administer different things for the customers. So ton of options. It's a pretty competitive field, but there's a reason it's competitive. I'm actually going to be talking about one of them in a resale opportunity on our next newsletter. But yeah, really good space. The aging population is growing rapidly in the US. So I think there's going to be a huge demand for that in the future. That was a long answer to your question.
I think it was a good answer.
Yeah.
It was a good answer. Leary, yes. So if you want to check out options and if you want to chat with Kevin and see what's available in your area, feel free to hit up the franchiseempire.com/check territory. And I know that you said above, yeah, you found my channel over the break. Cool, man. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the community. Happy to have you. We do these every week, typically on Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern time. But with the holiday yesterday, we're doing it today. And typically me and Kevin rocking and rolling unless one of us are out. And yeah, so we look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. And yeah, feel free to leave us questions too. If you have questions, leave us questions in the comments. We'll make sure to get to them. And in future streams, if you have questions like that we're happy to pull them up and address them. So cool. All right, y'all. Have a great day. Take care. Happy New Year.